This is now the 11th year of the Clipsal 500. Just keeps getting bigger and better. Take a look at the pit lane complex. And out in front, well, it's a similar story for 2009 as it was in 08. Jamie Whincup on pole position. He has cover in the form of his teammate Craig Lowndes. We've got a few cars lined up in pit lane already. Dale Wood for High Tech Oils Racing. Car number 4 is behind him, the Irwin racer of Alex Davison. And behind that is car 021 of Dean Fiore from Team Kiwi Racing. The defending champion here is Jamie Whincup. He claimed pole last year and won both races. 78 laps ahead of us for race 1. And welcome to our worldwide viewers as well to South Australia for the Clipsal 500. We're going to run you through the Fuso grid. Positions 1 and 2 belong to Team Vodafone, Whincup and Lowndes. Positions 2 and 3, Garth Tander and James Courtney. Isn't this a great sight? Gives us also a look at the new car colours for the season. Wilson Security Car 111, Fabian Coulthard is alongside Team Autobarn's Paul Dumbrell. Will Davison behind the wheel of the Toll Holden Racing Team's car number 22, vacated by Mark Scaife. He's now alongside Jason Richards, and at the rear of the top 10, 2 guys who had their times deleted from the top 10 shootout for various reasons. Mark Winterbottom in position number 9 and 10 belongs to Lee Holdsworth. Then it's Stephen Richards and Shane Van Gisbergen.
Looking a bit further afield, and Jason Bright in the Fujitsu entry, which is now being prepared by Stone Brothers Racing. Stephen Johnson, who was a strong performer earlier in the weekend, didn't get the most out of it yesterday, had a problem on just one corner, and that was enough to harm his campaign. Interesting to also reflect on this morning's warm-up as the grid rolls through here. And this is where they get to rehearse a full fuel load, and Garth Tander certainly smartened up the Toll HRT Commodore to be the fastest man. And when he did the 1 minute 22.5, he did it with a fuel load on board. Jason Bargwanna also made significant progress with his car to be the second quickest man in the warm-up. And there is Jason Bargwanna, who yesterday was disappointed as he left the circuit. Todd Kelly had some problems with the shift cut on the gear lever, which allows the drivers to flat shift. Alex Davison, as Matt mentioned before, is going to start from pit lane in this race. Michael Patrizzi, Wilson Security entry, change for him this year. It is going to take a little while, folks, to get your head around the new graphics, new teams, new driver combinations. McConville's car fully repaired from yesterday's incident at turn 3, and Dale Wood also starting from pit lane. He had the moment at turn 8. Big damage on the rear of that car. And remember, qualifying now determines both grids for the weekend. So how they start here is exactly how they will start tomorrow for the next 78 laps. We don't want to look too far ahead. As always, in commentary, I'm joined by Neil Crompton, and it's great to have Mark Scaife along with us for this season. Scaife, I guess the emotions must be a little bit different now. We could sit around talking about it all morning, but this is different now because the cars are revving up and ready to go.
It is a little bit weird, Matt, but I'm looking forward to it. You know, the sense of urgency at the first race meeting. This is a very important event for the guys. And as you said, with qualifying now consisting of the 2 races and the repercussions that have come from yesterday, it's going to be on for young and old. There's a really cracker race coming up. 3 parts of this circuit have been resurfaced. Turn 8 remains the same in terms of controversy, but they've changed it. It's a 14-turn circuit, 3.22 kilometres.
And it was interesting because we expected turn 8 to slow dramatically based on the configuration of it in recent years. But the cars are still showing very good mid-corner speed through there. Trapped a couple of guys as always. This was the big one yesterday. Dale Wood just the back of the car getting a little loose through the middle of the corner, and he slapped the wall. And several guys had real heart stoppers through there as they brushed up against it on the outside. You don't have to get too much wrong through turn 8 at just north of 200 kilometres an hour for it to go sideways on you. Jason Bright, he's in the Fujitsu car, SBR car. It's a BF model Ford Falcon. There are 9 brand new FG models in the field. Here is Russell Ingles, Super Cheap Auto in-car camera. That's a brand new car.
Now the only 40-plus or 40-year-old in the field, 45-year-old Rusty.
Not that there's anything wrong with being 40+.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Go easy, Matty.
Jack Daniels Racing. We expect a lot out of these guys because they expect a lot out of themselves. They've put an enormous amount of work into getting Kelly Brothers up and running. It's now a 4-car operation. Dale Wood's involved and Jack Perkins, and you'll see both Todd and Rick in the Jack Daniels cars. And here is Garth Tander, car number 2, the Toll Holden Racing Team. He's got the eyes on all right. He'll start from the second row of the grid. So he's going to get a good view of those two Team Vodafone cars as they head up towards the chicane.
Just making reference to Rick Kelly there a moment ago, and he also had a problem with the upshift in his car yesterday. They had a misfire that plagued them early in the day as well. So they lost valuable track time with that Jack Daniels car. You cannot give away track time in a field as competitive as this. So it's going to take a while to iron the gremlins out of both those new cars at Jack Daniels Racing.
He did a good job in the warm-up nearly. We ended up 9th from 17th.
Jamie Whincup opens his campaign beautifully for 2009. Reigning champion, #1 on the car, pole position, and that's for both races.
This year, JW says it's pride on the line as well. 1 championship, you could call it a fluke, he said. 2, you definitely can't. That was the point that you were making earlier, Mark Scaife. When you have a season like he had, it certainly wasn't a fluke, but now he has an even bigger challenge to try and come back and back it up. 30 starters, we've got 78 laps. You know the drill at the Clipsal 500, 250 Ks per day. It's flat out, it's furious, it's a lot of fun to watch. The season roars into action on the streets of Adelaide. And here we go. Lowndes got a terrific jump ahead of his teammate, and Lowndes will take the advantage into turn 1. In fact, Jamie Whincup's gone from 1st back to 5th. Through the chicane.
Whincup's was a shocker. He popped the clutch, and then the car initially jumped and then stood still, and they swamped him.
James Courtney had a little movement, but Jamie missed it totally. He was miles away, back to 5th.
Turn 4 congestion. Nose to tail touching on the run to 5. Lowndes has bolted.
And Greg Murphy was lucky to avoid some trouble earlier there as Stephen Johnson gets pushed wide. He's alongside the Fujitsu car, the bright green car. Kermit the Frog of 2009, Jason Bright. Down towards turn 8 we go.
Very close. That on cold tyres, Matt, that is a tough corner. So first lap out, when you get through, you have a big breathe.
Isn't it good to be back?
Exactly.
Isn't it good to be racing again? 100 days since we did it at Oran Park. Can't come quick enough. So Lowndes will take us around turn 14 to complete the first lap.
Will Davison's fared badly off the start as well. He's right back in the mid-pack.
Run you through the order as they cross the control line. Craig Lowndes leads Garth Tander. Standing lap at 129.94 for Lowndes. Then it's Courtney Dumbrell. Then we find Jamie Whincup settling into a groove now. Here they come. There's Courtney, car 18. Right behind him, Team Auto Barnes Dumbrell.
Will Davison back to 15th
From 7th, yes, off the grid. So he's had a very tough opening lap.
Now what Jamie's got to do now is not go mad. You've made a mistake. You've got to do a good job of settling into a bit of a rhythm. You've only got 4 guys in front. You're not losing much time at the moment. They're all in reasonable speed.
They've got the Go-Jacks under Tony D'Alberto's car, so they're taking it back into the garage. So he's got rear suspension damage on the Botlow entry.
Simply amazing. They've changed that corner. I'll detail it for you in a second as we take a look at Mark Winterbottom. The Orcon Steel Falcon sneaks up at turn 9. And that change at turn 8. Quite a few changes. Basically, they've slowed them down going in there, but you will find that it's single file. It's more of a shoot on the way in. They've realigned the left-hand side barrier. And well, the best way to put it is the drivers aren't happy about it.
Well, what's also happened is that the corner is probably 10 to 12 k's slower, Matty. It's made it a bit more of a corner. But in 2 other spots, the circuit's been resurfaced. Just up here in front of Fabian Coulthard's Shane van Gisbergen makes a good pass. It's a good quality pass straight up the inside, and that's the section that's been resurfaced there, Neil. That's better under brakes into there.
And Coulthard's got distractions in his car. Here's the replay of the start, and watch from Jamie's car. It goes absolutely nowhere as the field rockets by. Coulthard's getting a low fuel pressure warning on the 111 entry. Here's the shot from above. Watch the car on the left of screen. Reigning champion Jamie Whincup and Will Davison back in the pack as well. That was where he lost all those spots in the 22 HRT car. And they're also encouraging, as we look at Delberto's damaged rear end here, punched the Watts linkage across on that car. We might have a look at that a little bit later. As back comes Whincup through the field now on Dumbrell at turn 9.
Gets the spot back.
The other issue with Coulthard at the moment is they're encouraging to quickly change the anti-roll bars in the car to get the car configured better for these opening laps. So he's got a balance issue and erroneous warning lights on the dashboard.
It looks like James Courtney's early speed is a little bit better than Garth Tanner's. Just as he locked the right-hand front, I put the mocker on him pretty quick, Crombo. But it was looking like, in terms of balance around the back of the track, that it was slightly better, had better flow than Garth.
24 even that lap. Fastest man on the track was Mark Winterbottom. Greg Murphy's done a very quick split to the end of the second sector.
Remember, no compulsory pit stop window in 2009. You can stop whenever you want.
Damage to the front of Murphy's car there, Matt. It's actually right at the front of the grille.
You know what? He got crumpled up early on, up around turn 4 to 5 on the very first lap. He got in a bit of a freight train.
He got shoved from behind, and we saw him run into the back of somebody else there. A lot of cars in that pack. A lot of heat being generated by preceding cars as well. It bumps up the water temps. It bumps up the brake temps. And it's hard to find your initial rhythm when there's so much traffic around.
And in a race like that, it's so important, Crompo, isn't it? You've got to get the flow going. You've got to make it that you're not working the car hard, you're not working yourself hard. And in the early laps, just like the first race of any season, it's easy to get pumped up in the moment. And sometimes you think, geez, I feel fatigued after 5 or 10 laps.
Yeah, it's a mental process. And then later in the day, what seemed hard comes easy. Courtney in third place there. Exit final corner. Massive brand new pit lane complex on the right, new sheltered grandstands on the left. That's the margin that Lowndes enjoys. It's exactly 1 second.
He's a very good leader, Neil, isn't he? I mean, Lowndes has always been a really good leader. When he gets a sniff of the lead like that, he does a really good job. He's very accurate with the car. I'm surprised that Garth hasn't been able to go with him, because it clearly looks like his car's in good shape.
Well, they had a gentleman's agreement, as you would in any team, when they were both on the front row of the grid there. Basically, whoever makes it to turn 1 first will just secede, give way. But in that case, Lounsey had it all to himself, because Jamie just watched the world go by. Right now, you're on board with the defending series champ. He is in position 4, so he's made up 1 spot. We saw him get it past Paul Dumbrell as he attacks here. Jamie Whincup, turn 8. See that wall on the left? It's come in closer. It's a much narrower entry. They've also had to paint the side of the wall. One of the walls was jutting out, so they've painted it. The drivers complained they simply couldn't see it. It's under a big tree. It was in the shade. Sounds like a little thing, but it's a big thing, because it altered the way that they came into that turn, the line that they came into, because all of a sudden you arrive there, Mark, and hang on, where did that wall come from? It's not what you want to do at 200 plus.
Well, it's almost 235k, and what you said, Matt's absolutely right. The left-hand wall pops out. It pops out in the shaded area. That's the drama. There's 2 trees there, so you can't actually see where that wall juts out. So they've had to put a day-glow section for the drivers to visualise it up that straight.
Van Gisbergen's done 2 successive fastest laps in the race. He did a 23.6 on the last lap, and the most recent lap he's done a 23.5. So he's moving in this field at the moment in car number 9. He's the next car in the queue, the blue car there behind Mark Winterbottom as they now exit turn 5. It's a couple of car lengths to Van Gisbergen, but because he's got that clean air, he's putting it to good use. All these guys are having their rhythm interrupted by the other guy either immediately in front or behind.
Taking for a ride here with James Courtney as he comes down towards 8.
Isn't that a good shot? That is an unbelievable shot there. It's so fast, and there's no room. With the recontouring of the outside wall, Matty, as you said, there's no room on the exit for error. It's less forgiving than it's ever been.
Round we go again. Stephen Johnson's done good sector times on that lap that's just about to complete. Lowndes will lead him across. Tander, Courtney, Whincup 4th, Dumbrell 5th, Winterbottom. Then Van Gisbergen, Coulthard 8th, Lee Holdsworth 9th, and Stephen Richards 10th. You talked about turn 8 and about how there's no room for error. Let's just go back a couple of days and see what happened to Dale Wood and see what happened to our camera on the curb as well. Because he absolutely wiped it out. We'll set that up for you. We'll bring it to you after this break. Craig Lowndes in control in the early stages of the Clipsal 500. Well, we have a major incident here. The good news is that Michael Caruso is out of the car straight away. That's the first thing we need to tell you. The second thing is his car is an absolute wreck.
60 kilometres.
Now here's what's happened, and trouble on the run up to the braking area at turn 4. And that's punched him hard into the wall, and that's fluid leaking from the diff housing there, or the brake system. And Michael begging for them to try and get that Stephen Richards in. Chance to top that car up. Quite a few of them taking the opportunity here to take the pressure out of the scenario with the fuel consumption. Damage on the Dodo car, front right-hand corner. This is Jack Perkins. This is the ex-Todd Kelly car from last year.
And he was quite strong this morning, Neil. He ended up 5th in the warm-up, so the car was actually quite good. It's done a steering arm here now. You can see the right-hand front wheel just looks like it's loose, but it's obviously just hanging there. It's got no steering arm connected to the front upright at all. That's a big accident, that one with Michael Caruso. It's actually had another car involved in the first part of that off the back of turn 3. We'll see some vision in a second, but right down the bottom of our shot,
The safety car conditions, the R35 Nissan Skyline GTR. Remember those, Scapey?
Certainly do.
Wouldn't be Clipsal without lots of drama and the concrete bites around here. Michael Caruso has felt it. They've managed to get car 34 back towards pit lane. Looks a little bit different than when it left pit lane. And the Nissan safety car is about to peel off at the end of this lap, so we'll get back into racing.
And there's more to this story which we haven't revealed yet. There are a couple of other cars involved. One of them was Jason Richards, the other was Greg Murphy. So there appears to have been some scuffle on the exit of turn 3. As you build speed out of 3 to 4, you get to a peak speed value of about 215 kilometres an hour. It's a spooky place to have a moment.
So Lowndes has control. Behind him is Tander. Then it's Whincup.
Changed the regulations this year. You can overlap at the restart. You don't have to be single file, but it's turned out that way anyway.
It's so gentlemanly. What was going on there? I mean, I can't believe no one was alongside each other. You're allowed to be alongside, so be alongside.
Well, last year when you weren't allowed to be, they were.
Yeah, exactly. Tell them one thing, they do another.
That was very gentlemanly. That was weirdly nice.
Well, probably old habits die hard when you've done it a certain way for so long. It'll take a while to get their minds around it. But I'm surprised more people weren't hungry at the start than to try and shuffle the nose up early.
Speaking of that, look what Jamie Whincup's doing to Garth Tander very early.
Now, he made a move when all that other kerfuffle was going on out of turn 3. He put a move on James Courtney as well, and it was a solid move. He's got great pace in that car. That's no surprise. Got him.
Gets him here at 9.
Good pass. That was a really nice pass. James didn't need to bump the back of the other car, but
Courtney's still hungry for that position off Tander here. There'll be nothing doing around 13, but at 14 on the inside.
They both were a bit unsure of each other then. Garth went to block, and then he opened it back up again. James had a look, thought about it, then had another go. He got it done in the end, but it was only through mutual cooperation.
it was a little bit of the sidewalk stepping, you know, when you turn right and the other guy turns left. And it was a little bit of Garth not wanting to incur damage and James being a little bit late.
A little bit like your dancing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. impressive speed with Jamie. He's made 3 really good passes in that little quest. And what he needs to do again now is just settle down. He's got his teammate in front of him. I wouldn't be surprised if those 2 guys are on different race strategies in terms of fuel, Neil, because you wouldn't send your 2 lead guys out like that. And at the end of the day, something will work out under that scenario.
Well, if it turns out that they're burning in the range of 3 litres per lap, 120-litre tank, they're going to get 40 laps out, 78-lap race. So the margin here for making this either a 1 or a 2-stop race was always tricky. Now, the safety car having come out changes that scenario slightly, but we're going to watch that story unfold as Holdsworth sneaks down the inside cleanly.
Couldn't have done it any better.
It was a good move by Jamie down there before, and we've got a safety car again. I saw yellow flags in the background. Here's the replay of Jamie down the inside, and that's nice work because it's the dirty side of the road, and it was a full threshold stop. He wouldn't have had another millimetre of brake performance left in that car. And here's car 333, Michael Patrizzi.
Okay, you guys.
Doesn't look like he can get reversed there, Neil. He's obviously parked there. I don't know how much damage. It's the reason it doesn't get reversed, because the left-hand side's no longer in it.
There's the car, Michael.
Supply direct, she's fairly ordinary.
So Jason Bargwanna in car number 3, back in the main game for 2009. Like a kid in a candy shop. Some running repairs on car 3. Here at the Clipsal 500. You're back at the Clipsal 500. The first 250 Ks on this race day Saturday. And don't forget, we'll do it all again tomorrow, which is payday in terms of the event, because whoever finishes first on Sunday ends up getting the main trophy for the Clipsal 500.
Well, Gary Rogers, you come into a new year with such great expectations, and that just breaks your heart. What happened to Michael Caruso?
Breaks your pocket even worse.
It's not good, is it? Listen, what have you heard? Obviously, Michael's fine, which is the good news.
Well, yeah, he's fine. Look, he got out of the car, he said he's right. But apart from that, we've heard nothing other than that. I mean, clearly he had some good car speed and he was using it. There was some suspect customers and all that, but until I see the actual replay properly and until I, we'll get a look at the data and have a look, but until then I really don't want to be painting bones at anyone just in case.
Now, we know your boys here in the garage are very good. Can they get that ready for tomorrow?
Depends, really. I mean, we've got all the goods, so long as the chassis is not too badly bent, but going by the look of that, I'd say it's pretty badly bent. But look, we've got to give it a go, and when we get it back here, we'll see how bad it is, and if so, we'll be there.
All right, thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Bit of an update from down here. Jack Perkins just spoke to Jack. They're down there pulling front steering arms. They've just changed an upright on the front of the car. Jack got involved in a bit of a tangle with a couple of other guys. His options were hit the wall or tag the wall or tag his teammate. Jack's a gentleman. He preferred to tag the wall. Now, I got to use my thermal gun, which was great. Stuck it in there. Spare a thought for the boys working on the car. 5 minutes after it was in the garage, it was still 300 degrees centigrade at the disc face. Now, the other thing I noticed down here, when Winterbottom came in to do his pit stop, they got about, I reckon, 6 or 7 seconds of fuel into the car. I've had a scan along pit lane. I've never seen so many measuring devices for trying to measure accurately the fuel into the cars. And you'll see these guys here at FPR up here on the end of the nozzle. You can see they've got a little digital display here. So as they're putting it into the car, no longer do they have to relay via radio how much fuel's going in the car. The guy putting in can actually see. So going to be careful to watch.
Thanks, Mark. Is it just me, or does everyone get a little bit scared when Larko talks about using a thermometer?
It's a little bit weird, Matt, isn't it? This is now playing into everybody's hands in terms of strategy, because the more safety cars, the less critical this becomes.
You know, a while back we were talking about turn 8, and I was going to talk to you about this man, what he did to our camera, and what turn 8 did to him, Dale Wood. Between that, we had a whole heap of stuff happen, but look at this. What happened yesterday to Dale. I mean, it was just so incredibly nasty. It started on the way in, and then watch this. This is your bird's eye view. Boom. We did fix that camera. We've got it back up there. And that's the thing about that turn, guys. They just can't seem to work out how to get cars safely in there and safely out of there when things go wrong.
Oh, it's a very fast corner, Matt, so there's always going to be problems there with that. It's a narrow exit. They've tried to make the chute of the entry sort of more defined, which makes it less probable for a guy to get up the inside, so it takes some racing out of the corner. But the exit is, I think less forgiving based on it being narrower.
See that wall just there to the right-hand side, the one that's jutting out the most.
The last one there, Matt, on the right. So just where the lollipop sign is above it, that's the one the drivers are worried about.
And overnight they painted it red and white stripes so it sticks out like a beacon.
Well, he's back in the garage now, Michael Caruso. Michael, that's heartbreak what happened out there. What exactly did happen?
I was in front of Greg Murphy and we were coming out of turn 3 and he's just driven straight into the back of me, and obviously I'm going around the corner, and once he's hit the back of me, it spun me around and, you know, it put me straight into the wall like a brand new car. It's, yeah, it's pretty harsh. I just can't understand why so early in the race, you know, we're fighting for 16th or 17th position, which means nothing at the moment. So it's a bit devastating. We worked so hard, and, you know, we had some really good sectors out there and quite quick. So,
Right, mate, good to see you back in one piece.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Let's get back into it now. This is back on again in race time, Matt, and again, no one's up the inside of the other guys. I mean, I can't believe how gentlemanly it is.
Craig Lowndes has control of it. Jamie Whincup there. Car number 1 second. Then it's James Courtney. Garth Tander lost 2 positions just before that safety lap period, so he's in 4th. Behind him is Paul Dumbrell.
He's done a good job, Matt. I think Richard Holway would be pretty much on the radio saying, Paul, be really settled. The race doesn't get won in these first 10 or 15 laps. Although he's covering Mark Winterbottom now, and that's not great because you don't need to be losing time. You can see how much time he's lost there to Garth Tander in only half a lap. I heard on the warm-up lap there, the guys trying to warm those front tyres up. We were saying in qualifying about that shudder noise, Neil, where they gets that sort of squeal come shudder, and they can't get that front back in.
And Lowndes had a huge oversteer moment. On cold tyres then, in the middle of turn 8, the back of Craig's car completely disconnected, and he did the sprint car all the way through the middle of the corner.
He did the Lowndes all the way through the middle of the corner.
A couple of people have taken the opportunity during these stops to grab fuel as well. One of them was Stephen Richards. The other one was Jason Barguana. I'll rattle through a few of the others as well shortly, but could play to their advantage as the afternoon wears on.
Lowndes has got great car control. Look at this.
Here it is again. Check it out. Yeehaw.
That is very good.
And it left a little licorice strap on the road there as well, just so everybody could see his signature.
It's about 200 Ks and it's fairly sideways in 6th gear. That's as good as it gets.
So there's Lee Holdsworth tucked in at position 8. Just ahead of him, I was just watching the last lap or so, Shane Van Gisbergen. You'll see there's 2 blue cars. There's car number 5 of Mark Winterbottom, the Orcon Steel car, and behind him, the 19-year-old Shane Van Gisbergen, the SP Tools entry. It looks as though the Giz is putting a bit of pressure on Mark Winterbottom.
Garth was really battling then to pluck a gear as he came out of turn 7. He couldn't get from 2nd to 3rd cleanly, and the shift cut in these cars, the sequential gearbox in the cars now, Mark and everybody pretty much moved to that through the course of last year to the entire field. If you don't quite get the micro switch timing perfect, you can't get the car out of gear unless you're willing to sacrifice everything, depress the clutch pedal, lift the accelerator and cycle back through it. And as you know, you can have a lot of snaggy shifts and they can cost you badly.
Well, especially a change like that, because that straight that runs up to turn 8 is very important in terms of the drive off that 2nd gear corner. So what you said, Neil, is exactly right. Where you try to make the change, what affects it is the outside curb. So as the car pops off the curb, you can't make the gear change.
Will Davison down at turn 9, got a spot ahead of Rick Kelly. So Will moves up now to 12th position. Rick in 13th. And Greg Murphy.
Damage on the front.
Wheels all pointed in.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a bit of a Neil Crompton wheel alignment gig there. I've seen you drive back with a few of those.
Now let's not start that game.
No, let's. We've got plenty of time.
Meantime, back to the business, and Whincup, thankfully, is all over the back of his teammate.
I just happened to be down here talking to Jeff Gretsch about Murph's potential involvement in the Caruso incident, and they radioed in bench steering, he's saying that is, and that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, but this, I think, is something else. The damage on the front left-hand corner of Greg's car, I don't think, I mean, if he had that after the alleged incident with Michael Caruso, he would have come in earlier. So I think this is something subsequent to that.
Yeah, like I think that one's been a wheel-to-wheel contact. If you have a look at the fascia of the wheel and the way the two wheels are pointed in with a massive toe in, maybe ask Jeff William down there as to how that's come about, because definitely there's been contact with another car after Caruso.
Well, Spud reckons he's been copping it from all sides prior to that incident, so I'd say this is probably the end result of all of that, but anyway, we'll watch.
Lowndes and Whincup are going toe-to-toe here in terms of lap times. 123.6 for Lowndes, 123.8 for Whincup. And James Courtney in position 3 matched the leader on that lap with a 123.66. So car 18's got a lot of speed.
Seeing a little bit of variation in that temperature as well. The sun's gone in and out. It's actually gone cloudy a little bit again here. The official forecast is for showers now this afternoon, but we did have a very, very early morning shower when Mark was still having a little no-nos back at the hotel, and those of us that were working hard were here. But and there were a couple of spots in the early part of the afternoon, but the showers they were talking about at this point in time haven't gone away, but it's gone through a range of 32 to 35 degrees air, as now Jamie has a peep, and he'll get it done because Craig will not argue the point.
Good clean pass. I mean, he didn't fight for that at all. It was a very good sector, because Whincup there is on the fastest second sector of the race so far. What you're seeing a little bit, I think, Neil, is that the difference in the speed in certain sections of the track, it looks like Jamie's better in the first sector. The car's more accurate than Lowndes' car, and it tends to flow better because of that. So it looks like he doesn't have to work the car quite as hard.
Nice driving, mate. Head down. Let's take advantage of the fresh air in front, dude.
Mark Dutton on the radio to Jamie Whincup.
It's hard to make a value judgment about Craig's car, but I've seen just a little bit of evidence of the back of the car being loose. We saw it on the cold or cool tyres at turn 8. We saw it again there through the S's. Once you begin to fight an oversteer around this racetrack, you've got to wait a long time. You've got to catch the chassis, steer a little bit of opposite lock, hesitate on the throttle, and then go again, and that adds up to tenths of a second. And Jamie, as Mark pointed out, is not having to do that in the one car at the moment.
And he just posted on that lap that he was let loose the fastest time of the race, 123.07, and he's going again. He's
going to get sliced here because James has got more pace. I think Craig's got a little bit of a battle on his hands with that chassis at the moment.
Now this is interesting. That's really interesting. What happened just then?
Oh, that was absolutely ridiculous. He should not, number one, should not have turned in there so narrow, Matt. And what you were referring to, there was a gentleman's agreement to make a call on that corner 150 metres prior. Exactly. So when you turn in narrow, you have to use more road, and in the end, you give the fence a hit.
So the deal was, as they approached there, getting down to the 150 metre braking mark.
He might have got away with that, but I tell you what, that's as close as you want to go.
Basically, the deal is, if you go in there side by side, you have to sort it out. They were the exact words by Thomas Mazera, sort it out by the 150, who goes in and who doesn't.
2 laps in a row, Jamie Whincup has done 23 evens. He did a 23.09 that lap, and his previous lap, which was the best in the race, was a 23.07. So he's got piles of pace in that car at the moment.
And you heard his engineer say at that time, go and make some ground now. So clearly he wants to get a bit of a gap. He's done a good job. When the two guys behind have been fighting, it looks reasonably easy too, Neil, because under that scenario, they're going to slow themselves down. What James did wrong was when you get up the inside to get that past May, which he did a good job to get up there, what you do then is you just slow yourself down, because there's no way the guy on the outside can do anything about it. So you slow down to a pace that you can get through that corner. This is fast, and it's very, very wild on the exit.
It was a parallel brush on the wall, so he might have got away with it, doing damage to the car. Winterbottom's clearly got speed, but he still hasn't been able to uncork himself from the back of Paul Dumbrell at the moment. He's doing a good job. So it is Whincup, Courtney, Lowndes, Tander, Dumbrell, Winterbottom, Van Gisbergen, Holdsworth, Johnson and Ingle, who's come up from 16th. There was usual. Russell plays a good racing game. He's actually rolling around in clear air out there at the moment. It'll be nicer for his tyres, probably better for his fuel economy as well.
Neil, you alluded to earlier on that Craig Lowndes may have a problem with the rear of the Team Vodafone car. Just had a chat to team boss Roland Dane. He says, no problem there for Lowndesy.
Well, that's what you'd say, but the evidence suggests that maybe the balance is not quite what you'd want, because you're not going to go and give a spot to James Courtney because it's party time.
Well, and you won't go from first to third in Craig Lowndes land if the car's perfect. We saw in the early part of this race, what you'll normally see with a full fuel load and the way the car rolls out, his pace early was very good. As soon as the fuel comes off, the back of the car becomes stiffer and it gets more oversteer. So definitely his car, as Neil saw before, has got more oversteer than early in the race.
Just confirming, Greg Murphy has damaged his lower control arm left-hand side, which is effectively the bottom suspension that attaches your wheel to the car. So they're changing that. That's probably a 10 or 15-minute job, I guess. And Jack Perkins is back out. They've put a new upright and a steering arm on the front of that car, so all good there.
Garth Tander would have been rubbing his hands together, Matt, when he saw the tandemobile was going well. He's waddling along there. I thought he was being very, very conservative. And when he saw James and Craig arrow into turn 8 together, there was no way in the world that was ever going to be easy, that one.
Talk about the changing weight in the cars. The cars are 55 odd kilos lighter now than they were when they first started the race, and so that's why the balance is changing that Mark referred to. The weight's coming off the rear of the car.
It was Barry Ryan talking to Todd Kelly. It was a good comment. Sometimes when you make a pass and you haven't got anybody behind you, you're better off just not to be looking back. Just keep looking forward and get on it. So he's got a mapping problem. So Todd was just saying then every time I get back on the throttle, there's no engine, which means there's a big flat spot coming back off the corner. So as you load the throttle up to try to balance the car in the middle of the corner, there's no throttle response to be able to do that, nor does the car accelerate up the next straight.
And that battle between Mark Winterbottom and Shane Van Gisbergen continues. They're just going blow for blow, time-wise.
Van Gisbergen, the car looks very good. He's narrower through turn 8 than most of the other guys, and he looks like, I think his car looks very, very good. He was strong in the warm-up, and I think his car at the moment is actually very well balanced.
You guys were just questioning the Craig Lowndes mobile. Well, Jamie Whincup did the fastest first sector time of the race on this lap. Lowndes backed it up with the fastest second sector time. So the two Team Vodafone cars are looking good for quick laps. Winterbottom, Van Gisbergen pretty much going equal footing. And Paul Dumbrell just doing a nice job. Lowndes just did a 1:23.003 fastest lap.
Now, I'll bet that he's trimmed the cockpit adjustable anti-roll bars in that car. Maybe had a fiddle with the brake balance as well. And because he took himself out, he extracted himself from that battle, he settled down. Now, we made mention before of the damage to the Greg Murphy car, and just trying to de-jargon our industry. The front lower control arm was what Mark Larkin made reference to. We'll picture it in the car here for you. These are the computer-aided design drawings by Harrop Engineering. Justin Smithies is with me, and we've highlighted what that lower control arm looks like. There's the whole front suspension. Now we pluck it out of the car for you. Justin, see if you can show me that arm there. There it is. We'll zoom in on it for you. And that whole arm has been bent, damaged, and is now being replaced. And we'll get Greg back out on the racetrack ASAP.
Neil, is de-jargon a word?
Not really, but it is now.
Is that a word?
You see what you've missed? All that time you've been racing, see what you've been missing?
It's like a vocab lesson, isn't it? It's just amazing.
Certainly not a grammar lesson. It's a new vocab lesson.
Keep it coming.
Oh, big front lock there for Tander. I think by the look of the body language of Garth's car that they've been too conservative on setup for that car. It looks like it's too understeery, meaning it doesn't turn at the corner well enough. And those sorts of little front brake lockups usually come from having to keep the brake on for longer into the corner. So Garth, definitely, the right-hand front there was quite a big lockup.
Especially given that the fuel loads come off substantially on that car for it to still be behaving like that.
Even in the turn 4 then, we saw him miss the apex, so definitely it's not sharp enough.
That last lap, another fastest lap of the race.
He's done a bunch of 23s, hasn't he, Jamie? They've been impressive. He'll be in the 22s in a heartbeat.
Well, the race lap record, 1:22.356. The funny thing is, we knew that the modifications to turn 8 would chop a little bit of time out of the lap time. What we didn't bank on was the resurfacing in 3 parts of the circuit, giving that time back. So in qualifying, times were bang on the mark.
Garth only just pulled that car up there too. Lee Holdsworth up the inside of Van Gisbergen did a good job to get alongside, but now this is an ugly spot. We saw some drama here last year with Craig Lowndes and James Courtney.
Yeah, there was actually a little bit of contact then. Holdsworth just lightly.
I went for the pass. Can you report it?
heard Lee complaining on the radio just then about Van Gisbergen blocking, and he is blocking. He definitely didn't give him enough road at the hairpin, so...
And that releases the top 5, because you'll remember that Van Gisbergen was putting a lot of pressure on Mark Winterbottom, who's in 6th now. So those Whincup, Courtney, Lowndes, Tander, Dumbrell, and now Winterbottom have a little bit of room to move.
And what happens with that, the reason that's happened there, Matt, is that when you're out by yourself and you can basically put pressure on the car in front, that's all fine, because your car speed is very pure at that point. As soon as Lee got behind and he had to start blocking, then you lose 3 or 4 tenths of a second, and then you slow both cars down. So effectively, he's pulled himself back out of the Mark Winterbottom race and dragged himself into the Holdsworth race.
Cork in the bottle.
Also a bit puzzled by, and I might have jumped over a point here, that Jason Richards has dropped down the order a little bit. I mean, obviously there was that thing that we saw a bit earlier where he was a bit mixed up in the Michael Caruso incident, but for a fellow that qualified where he did inside the top 10, 8th, and he's now languishing down in 17th, so there might be a little bit to unravel there. Now, Lowndes has recovered, and as we said before, settled things down. Now he's having another nibble on the back of James Courtney.
Yeah, look, he's definitely...
You two knuckleheads tangled up the top of the circuit here a few years ago, and we were going to talk up the fact that it was going to be a great race, and the two of you head-butted each other up there. And that was it.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's obviously Craig's drama.
Of course.
Especially because he can't reply.
You always have a crack when he can't reply. Remember, both these cars are 888 Race Engineering cars, as now Craig gets it done, or does he? But different power plants in the sense that they've come out of different engine shops. Kenny McNamara engines this year for Team Vodafone. Jeremy Moore, engineer, and Roland Dane on his right-hand side. It's Craig's engineer. And DJR doing their own engine program. So they've bought a chassis from that man that you saw on screen a moment ago, but they've done their own engine tweaks. And
it's amazing how the phases go, isn't it? It looked 5 laps ago like James Courtney was a superior package to Craig Lowndes, and to me it now looks like really Lowndes has got the better of that battle. And as you could see, the body language of the cars coming off those curbs, you could hear Craig's engineer say, hey, keep it up, mate, keep the pressure on, because he'll definitely yield with that level of pressure.
Now, I've got a bit of an update on the Jason Richards thing. That we're hearing that there was a driver error somewhere, so no contact, but he's gone back in the field as a result of making a little blue, so he's recovering. There's the brains trust at Jim Beam Racing. Adrian Burgess in the background there is the team manager. He worked with James Courtney when they were in Formula 3 together in the UK. Adrian was also involved in Formula 1 at one point.
And Craig just kept on pushing his way through the inside.
Now remember, roll your mind back 12 months, and those two don't have a great history of sharing track meterage in that spot of the racetrack. They don't play well together.
That was a very polite way of saying that, Neil. Very well done. But it did surprise me that James didn't want to yield on the way in there, and in the end he ended up having to use all the exit curb and run wide because Craig forced his way through in the end. It was a good forceful pass.
Boys, you reckon James Courtney's in the hot seat on the track? It just got hotter. Just got word through that his cool suit has frozen up. It's not working, so he is warming up fast in that cockpit.
It should be a simple concept, but managing dry ice in these systems can sometimes be a bit of an issue. And when they do that, it's kind of, instead of having a cool suit, it's like having an electric blanket.
Well, what you do is you look down and you look at where the water's flowing,
and there's no flow.
And there's no flow. There's an air bubble there.
Yeah, it just stays there.
You think this is going to be a very long day.
It's like you're a builder and you've got the bubble and you level and the bubble doesn't move.
I noticed then in the S's, we should have a look when we come back. There's definitely different lines between, say, Lowndes and Courtney at this time of the race to look after the tyre. Back shortly.
Some of the highlights so far of race 1 of the season here at the Clipsal 500. For some drivers, there have been lowlights. Michael Caruso out, big hit up at turn 4. Rear damage for Tony D'Alberto. Michael Patrizzi found turn 6, the wall. Jamie Whincup is the race leader. It's a 1-2 team Vodafone act at the moment. James Courtney is in third and Garth Tander is in fourth. Earlier we saw Lee Holdsworth and Shane Van Gisbergen having a battle, and Lee finally got that battle won. So Lee is in position 7 now. There he is, coming into shot in the chicane.
A couple of things happening further down the field. Todd Kelly's making ground on Will Davison at the rate of 0.2 of a second a lap at the moment. Lee Holdsworth, who you heard complaining on the radio earlier, there he is, has cleared Shane Van Gisbergen. So he's now got quite a bit of fresh air between himself and the SP Tools entry. Cam McConville's come up. Remember, a lot of damage on the WOW Racing Commodore yesterday, starting up the back, and is now 17th.
Don't forget to check out bigpond.com. You can get all our coverage on your Telstra Next G mobile. Big Pond Sport, following the V8 Supercar Series, big supporters of the championship. And it's great to have them on board again. And Mark Winterbottom looks really racy now against Paul Dumbrell. Back to the Kelly brothers. Todd on your left, Rick on your right. On the Zinger replay, Todd gets the job done.
Winterbottom's been right behind Paul Dumbrell now for many laps, and at certain times looks like he's quite strong. The end of Wakefield Street is the spot that he looks like he's most likely to grab him at, and he gets a good run through the turn 1-2 chicane, so it'll be interesting this time. He's pretty close. As you said, Holdsworth's done a good job. Their cars are normally quite soft. They ride the bumps quite well here, and because they're quite soft, they look after the tyres quite well, so he'll be strong also late in this race.
Yeah, just chatting to Ross Stone about the Giz, they're not panicking about Holdsworth just creeping away there, and it's really good to see Giz in there. I mean, usually he performs superbly in the wet. I reckon this is a really strong start of the season for this young fella, but I reckon he's in for a cracker year.
I agree, Larko. It's been a very good start, and we said early in the race that the balance of the car's quite good. It looks like it's got a bit of understeer now, which is weird at this time of the race, Crombo, isn't it?
Yeah, still a bit tricky to get a full read on everybody's car behaviour at the moment because the sun's going in and out all the time and the fuel load's changing, and Winterbottom's starting to get just those first early signs now, a bit of impatience being cooked up behind Paul Dumbrell. When I say that, I mean they've got comparable speed, so it's just that frustration of just wanting to get on with it, but there's a car there that you've got to deal with. The other thing, none of them will ever admit to it right at this point, Mark, but they've been racing hard since lap 16 with the last safety car intervention when it came back into pit lane. Right about now, you're thinking to yourself, which is a long way around here, and you've done 8 trillion sit-ups and run around 100 ovals over summer and told everybody that you're fitter than Superman, but the truth is right now you're hurting.
And you know what also happens is the engineer says to you, oh, we're about half race now, it's 35 laps, and you think, I've got to do 78. This is quite a long day.
Especially if the car's not nice. If the car's okay, then you think this is okay. But if the car's average, that's very bad news.
So that's position 13 of Rick Kelly.
Now remember that Stephen Richards came in and grabbed some fuel in that car. So he sacrificed some position on the racetrack to take fuel, but shifts him further along. And Cam McConville did that. I made this reference earlier about those that have done it. Bargwanna did it on lap 13, took fuel and tyres. Richards on lap 8, fuel and tyres. McConville on lap 8, some fuel.
Oh! Big rear brake lock up there for Steve. Oh, and as he come back on, Jason Richards has just given him a little what for in the short shoot there between those two corners. I thought that he had Rick Kelly, so obviously a bit of rear brake lock on the way in there.
And one of the little changes technically this year, as we look at Cam McConville up the inside of Fabian Coulthard, Fabian's drifting. And he was inside the top 10. He's going to argue the point, and he'll have the race line at turn 1. One of the things that changed this year is that the front brake caliper is now a control caliper for the entire field. We've got an Alcon front and rear brake rotor. We've got now also Alcon calipers all round. One of the other little changes is that there used to be pressure limiting devices for the rear brake. Here's that lunge of Stephen Richards again. Whack, crisscrossed, came out the other side awkwardly, and then Jason Richards makes contact, and those two have got a bit of a history because they got together at Winton last year and were waving pleasantly to each other a lap afterward.
Not only see it on that Zinger replay, you could hear it on the replay as we zero in on Craig Lowndes, who is 4.4 seconds behind his teammate on the road. So Whincup now has a 4.5 second advantage over Lowndes. Courtney is third, and in comes Craig. In comes Jamie, correction.
So you got
4 tyres and full head of fuel. Stop on the hog.
So 4 tyres, full head of fuel.
This is about half race distance at lap 37. So you'd have to say he's probably going to be okay in terms of, you know, maybe with a couple of safety cars in the last part of the race.
Okay, Jamie, make sure you're happy with your bars and bars. They look good, they look good. You should be coming out with a little bit of fresh air. Just slot in and head down, mate.
This will be close. I mean, we're saying halfway. A couple of big, long safety car periods now.
That's what they need. You know, 41 laps from here, and that'll be line ball.
Yep.
I mean, they know their fuel numbers. I don't, but it depends on what the final analysis is. But I would have thought that's not an ideal scenario for them to have to come in right at the moment, but time will tell.
It's aggressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically you're the first one. Sometimes you need to be a pioneer, especially when you're leading. What he did, and I was interested in him using a fair bit of fuel to get a lap gap like that. He had a 4.5 second gap. In comes Winterbottom. But at this time of the race, why would you have a 4.5 second gap?
There's not a lot of value in it, especially if it eats things to get there. Eats fuel, eats tyres, eats brakes, eats your body.
I guess the saving grace for Whincup was that he probably didn't have to work too hard for that gap. He didn't have much pressure behind him.
That may be right, Matt. Maybe he could flow the car, as you see Jason Richards now pull up. Spike man, roll centre change there. That's roll centre down by the look of that to me, so that means that you actually soften the back of the car for the next segment of the race.
Looking for more drive. Waiting for the fuel to come back up the vent line. There it goes. And you might notice that E85 is green in its tinge. I was going to pluck out a beaker earlier on today.
Did you have a beaker? Did you have a beaker?
But that would have been counterintuitive, so he didn't do it.
And I was going to show you blokes the fuel, but I forgot.
Was that a senior moment?
It was. Yeah. Laugh it up, funny boys. Now I'm crunching numbers here because this is interesting, isn't it? You've got Jamie Whincup and Mark Winterbottom having stopped. That releases Craig Lowndes now in fresh air.
And in Triple Eight land, they're probably on different strategies, Neil. That's what you'd do.
James.
Interesting, different engine programs. You worked on it before. You said the 2 different engine builders for these different styles of cars, similar time frame to come in and put fuel in. So obviously the economy for both those units is very, very similar. Will Davison in the background.
Okay, so that answers an interesting question for me. The Stone Brothers car as well, so showing a similar fuel burn.
Russell Ingall, the Super Cheap Auto entry. New teammate this year, of course, with Paul Morris. Retiring at the end of 08. Still owns
stalled.
Team.
Stalled. Yeah, that was a stall at the end of that. And that's one of the things in terms of the E85. The hot start, the way that they get out of the pit is different.
Winterbottom's in front of Courtney now.
All clear, mate. All clear.
So that hurt him.
That did hurt him. I nearly, in fact, I said he got away with it, but he didn't because Frosty was there to grab him.
So Holdsworth's made good ground here because he's definitely pulled up on the back of Tander and Paul Dumbrell. That sounds like Garth talking. No, it's not Garth talking. It's Lee Holdsworth talking. Similar voice, similar guys. One's tall, one's
that's
short.
right. Body frame's very similar.
One's a Valvoline car, one's a mobile car. I mean, it's very, very similar. Both in Holdens now.
Anybody could make a mistake like that, but they probably wouldn't.
Oh, it's going to be a long year.
As I said earlier, I don't think Garth's car's that great. What do you think?
Don't tip me into your bad judgment call, especially against your former team. I'm not sure. I shall ask Garth after the race, but it suggests at the moment that it's not quite to his liking.
Journey, you're on up, Journey.
Fabian Coulthard in. Jason Bright in.
It's going to be busy getting out of here, Matt. Good clean stop there for Holdsworth.
And out he comes into some nice fresh air too.
In front of Winterbottom. So that's a very good job. That's important. If you remember that before the stop, that wasn't the case.
I said it was a good stop and you laughed at me. I said good stop.
Only because you had him pegged as
Hang on,
Tander.
Zinger replay shows Ingall giving Jason Richards a big touch-up.
Now I can hear Garth Tander on the radio at the moment just arranging his stop. Paul Dumbrell's come in.
Okay, mate, pit now, we'll do an adjustment, pit now.
Okay, so that is the call for Garth Tander.
And we'll do an adjustment.
And you'll notice that the Holden Racing team are right down there, exactly where Paul Dumbrell is, the first garage in as you come into pit lane. Normally they'd be much further up, but because they're paired up, they're grouped up with Dumbrell and David Reynolds. In terms of championship standing, you have to take the lowest championship standing, and they end up right down the back. Look at this work on Stephen Johnson's car.
Green tyres for both those cars in pit lane there. That's a bit weird for green tyres to go on, but not to be roaded.
Haven't been scrubbed at all.
So Steve Johnson and Todd Kelly putting green tyres. So their speed will be good at the completion of this stop.
And even though it's a long race, we're operating to the sprint rules at the moment, which means there are two men out there doing those wheel changes, one on each side of the car, moving from each end to change the tyres. Now, watching for Tander to come in, he's picked up a bit of leaf debris in the front of the car as well. And as Mark said a moment ago, looking for a change on that car as well. And the suggestion is from in here that he might be looking for a bit more turn in the car.
You've got a clear run in, so take it nice and easy.
Watch this, when he gets in, he's going to have to turn hard right. Ready?
Is that the front tyres, man? What was going on there?
Host, commentator and sound effects provider.
Neil sat down at the start of this weekend and thought, I can't wait to get back into racing, and then looked across the desk.
Plenty of time.
Saw Tweedledee and Tweedledum here.
Nice calm stop.
Car looks great, doesn't it? It's a really great, it's a great colour scheme.
Go.
This is Alex Davison in the Irwin Tools entry. And that's Tander departing in the background. Alex had made it into the top 10 just prior to this stop.
His fiancée Melanie Hardy gave birth to little Lily Davison Thursday in Melbourne, 5 days ahead of the due date. And so Alex is yet to see his little girl.
Coming in.
Melanie, I'm sure you're watching. Congratulations to you, and it's great to have Alex back in the main game.
Adjust your brake bias, enlarge.
So now Craig Lowndes begins the long trundle up to the other side of pit lane, and here's Paul Dumbrell stuck.
It's turn 4. Yeah, exit. So he's gone up there, turned it around in that awkward spot.
Very easy to do when you come out of the pit like that, and maybe with green tyres. So if that's the case, your arrow up there, you've got a different fuel load. The whole way the car reacts is so much different to how it was. And here we go, here we look. Garth's bottled them all up, and he gets a bump. James Courtney.
Now we can see the rear of the Team Autobahn car. Big crunch in the back of it.
Make all tyres, DPS light on, please.
James has had a few dramas today, hasn't he? I mean, that's now the 3rd incident You can't get away with a good result at this sort of race when you're involved in drama.
In that much drama. You also would have noticed there, just as Craig went past, see how the colour of the tarmac changes? That's where they've resurfaced it. They've taken out too, in that process, the big heavy bumps. It was a roller coaster last year, Scafie, and years before. Last year was the worst I've ever seen it in the 11-year history here, and now it's flattened it out a little bit. That's exactly where Dumbrell got caught, on that side of the circuit. Before he knew it, Courtney was right up behind him. Yellow flags. This is safety car will come out.
And this will help everybody in terms of fuel consumption again.
Well, that's exactly what Jamie Whincup, for one, was hoping for. He came in, remember, on lap 37. So he was banking on this. Team Vodafone were banking on this to get him to the end of the day. We'll take a break here from the streets of Adelaide. It's great to have the racing back underway in 09.